Hello everyone, my name is Keir. I'm one of the AMC from Winnipeg, also part of the Pump Project team, and I am here to discuss some of the benefits and limitations of the Sapphire pump and how that affects you, the end user. Ultimately, although this pump does have many great safety features, it is not like a colleague Guardian that we're maybe used to, like Baxter has in the hospital, where you can just cognitively offload any information, just turn on the pump and it will tell you what concentrations you have to mix up. That is not how this one works. Ultimately, AMC need to know your parameters of how to run the medication and max amounts, grams, etc. that the patient can receive. This pump does not get you off the hook. That said, we do have some great safety features that we now have. We can place hard and soft limits on certain infusions. So just gentle reminders that if maybe we're going over 1.0 on norepi, for example, it will still allow you to go over, but it'll just say, hey, you're going over, just a reminder. So for insulin, for example, that's very handy. And then there's hard limits that MOMT has come up with where it's just, no, that is definitely unsafe. And we can't think of any parameters, including tox situations, where that would be appropriate. And so, for example, it might be you can't go any higher than 4 mics per kilo per minute on norepi, for example. Extreme, but you would, if you're trying to go above that, for example, you're not going to be able to. We can also place some additional information beside the drug name to allow for some reminders, like when to use a micron filter, etc. We have now a bolus feature, so if we have an infusion running, we can now augment what we have running with an additional bolus if the patient starts to buck the tube, etc. And how fast those medications can go in and over what period of time the bolus will be set up for as per MOMT. We can still, like the IVAC, have an open program kind of feature, but you have to exit the drug library to do that. You don't get a drug name associated with it. It can't be done. And of course, you have no safety parameters. So if you have multiple infusions running on multiple different pumps, because it's a single channel, you're going to have 3 or 4 infusions running. If you don't have a name attached to it, it might get a little confusing for you. So probably don't want to leave the drug library. So that's a definite drawback. Also, this pump does not, with all its great safety features, it doesn't have the ability to put in a max hardline max amount. So I can't stop, like if it's a milligram per kilo amount that you're mixing up, but to a max of 15 grams, you can't put in max of 15 grams in the pump. There's no parameter for that. So you'll still have to, like I was alluding to before, you still have to keep in mind that you'll have to remember how much is too much. Also, as much as this pump allows for the usage of mics per kilo per minute versus mils per hour, etc., if the concentration and volume is changing, so neither one is a stable feature in the pump, which has to be pre-put in order to gain access to mics per kilo per minute or anything else outside of mils per hour, then it has to be an open set. So for example, if I have like 150 milligrams per kilogram is what the drug should be, and the concentration would want to be left at 30 milligrams per mil as per like the NAC protocol, for example. So that could be anywhere mixed up in a 50 mil bag all the way up to a 250 mil bag if you're going from peds to adults. Those two things are constantly changing. So it's going to have to be in mils per hour. It won't be in milligrams per minute or anything that would be maybe make a little more sense for us. And the pump ultimately has physical limits. It can only go to 999. So if you want to run anything faster, like 20 cc's per minute, like with our TBI hypertonic, just like the IVAC, you can only do it at 999, which is like 16.8 cc's per minute. So some other limitations that affect us. So some medications, in order to gain access to that mics per kilo per minute or milligram per kilo per hour, I have to input a concentration. And something like propofol, we have 2 different volumes. And so rather than have like 7 different propofol things we have to choose from, there are 2. The concentration of propofol is always going to be 10 milligrams per mil, because that's what it comes in, but the volume will change. So what you'll see is when you go to use the propofol, for example, it will say 10 milligrams per mil, And you'll say, well, that's not how it's mixed up, but that is its concentration. As you go further into the programming of that, it will ask you what volume, and that's where you're going to put in your 100 mils or your 20 mils, and then it will be as you are used to seeing it. Other things like, as I was saying before, so the magnesium, for example, with peds, you want to mix that up as 25 milligrams per kilo, and you want to run over 20 minutes, but if your ped is fluid restricted or something, you want to mix that up into a 50 mil bag versus a 100 mil bag, or maybe less fluid, more fluid. Those two things are constantly changing. So basically what it comes down to is you're going to mix up whatever your 25 mil per kilo is, and then you're going to put it into whatever volume. So if it's in a 50 mil volume or 100 mil volume, and then you're going to just go into the pump and do it as a time parameter. So run it over 20 minutes. That takes care of your math for you. You just have to take the volume and run it over that time. So that pretty much covers all the differences that the pump has and why the pump had to be programmed a certain way. I would love to do it the way that you're probably thinking it should be done for certain medications, but I'm limited on how that is completed. So if you still have any questions about why certain things are done the way they are, please email me and I'll be happy to respond to you.